Hi, everybody. In this video, I'm going to go through some of the Chapter 10 material. There's actually no math calculations in this section. It's really about reading drug labels, medicine cups, syringes, and IV fluid bags. So a lot of these we've already seen, but we're going to go into it in just a little bit more detail. So follow along with the PowerPoint, and I'll walk you through a few examples. There we go. So our learning objectives, the first one are going to be to name the parts of a drug label, syringe, and needle, to label syringes and medicine cups for proper dosing, read intravenous fluid administration bags, so IV bags, and use drug labels to find key dosing information. And again, a lot of these we already have been doing, so it may be a review for you, but I'm going to go through again some examples, and hopefully it will help clarify any lingering questions you may still have. All right, so the first thing, there are some things that you should see on a drug label, and this slide and the next slide are going to go through those pieces. So the first thing you see is the generic name. So that indicates the chemical name of a drug and includes any drug marketed under its chemical name without advertising. So just a basic example there, right? We all think about maybe Tylenol, right? But the generic name of that drug is acetaminophen. So you have your generic name, and then of course you have your trade name, which indicates the brand name. So that would be like the Tylenol piece there. Then you have your manufacturer. So who is the manufacturer of the drug? You will see a national drug code number as well. So this drug code number identifies the manufacturer, medication, and container size. A lot number, which is placed on the label prior to shipping to identify the lot. So again, if there's any issues, let's say, they'll know exactly which lot that came from for manufacturing purposes. What form the drug is in. So is it a cream, a capsule, a caplet, a drop, tablet, suppository, syrup, etc. The strength. So again, we've already been using this a lot, but the dosage strength, typically as, a tablet or given in milliliters, syrup, etc. And then maybe not on the outside of the box, it depends on the medication. It could also be on a additional flyer piece, right? The usual adult dosage for that typical use. Or if we're in vet tech, the usual dosage for the animal. The total amount in the vial, packet, or box. So how many tablets are in there, right? A prescription warning. So if it is a prescription, then it's going to indicate that on the box as well. And then an expiration date, so which provides the last date that the medication should be either taken, applied, or used. There we go. So my computer's very touchy this morning. It keeps jumping, very sensitive. So here you have one example. And again, not every example in the book is going to have every single part to it, but this one does have a lot of it. So you can kind of take a look through here. We see up here in the top where it says morphine in green, morphine sulfate. That is the drug name. So that's the generic drug name. And then under that, you do see injection. So that is the form of the drug. So that drug would be injected. When you see USP, you're stating that it does meet US standards. And then just some other things here. It does have some storage directions in this case. So we want to protect this from light. For instance, here is your dosage strength, which again, we've already been using a lot. So 10 milligrams per milliliter. You have your manufacturer at the bottom, PL Pharmaceuticals. This one does have a prescription warning on it. So RX stands for prescription. So it is a prescription warning. This is a controlled substance as well, level 2. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So you have that warning on there. And then you also have a lot of dosage information. So this goes into additional information about the dosage it's giving here. And it talks about the usual dose, again, seeing the package insert. So you're not going to see this dosage on the box necessarily, but there will be an insert inside that has more information. And then again, you may have other pieces, right? So a little note here, slight discoloration will not alter the efficacy of it. Federal law prohibits dispensing without prescription, etc. So you have some other pieces. This one doesn't have everything. So you don't have, in this case, a drug code on this particular label. Or the lot number, for instance. A lot of times the drug code is with a barcode. So you'll see that sometimes as well. So As you go through the text, you'll see different examples, and some will have different parts to them on the label. And again, you only have one kind of side of the box sort of to see here. So just because it doesn't have it on this example doesn't mean that there wouldn't be these codes and things on it in other places. So as I mentioned, the generic name was morphine sulfate. You did have the manufacturer on there. The drug code and the lot number were not shown in this particular example. Again, you typically see that drug code by a barcode as well. This was an injection. We have the dosage strength. The usual adult dosage was on an insert. The total amount in the vial, packet, or box was 1 milliliter vial. I missed that part, so let me go back and point that one out to you guys. That one was down here. So it's a 1 milliliter vial in the box or in the package. I shouldn't say box for everything. You do have a prescription warning on there, and this one did not have an expiration date. Obviously, it would be on there somewhere, but in this example, we didn't see that. Oh my goodness, sorry, very sensitive. I apologize. All right, I think that's the start one. Okay, so we did see on this particular substance that it was a controlled substance. It did have a label. So controlled substances are divided into 5 classes or schedules based on the drug's currently accepted medical use in the United States. Also, its potential for abuse and its likelihood of causing dependence. And these are the 5 levels or 5 classes. So level 1 would be classification where it is not accepted for medical use. So high potential for abuse, a lack of acceptable safe use of medication. So that is something that you would not be prescribing. But of course, those drugs do exist, but they are not recommended. In that case. So those would be usually your illegal drugs like heroin or LSD, etc. Your class 2, these have a high potential for abuse. So we saw that with the morphine one we just had, and may lead to severe psychological and or physical dependence. So these are ones that, again, you're going to be extremely careful with because it is more likely that people can become dependent on them. And morphine was one of the examples that we saw there. Hydrocodone is another example for class 2. For class 3, again, still have potential for abuse. They may lead to moderate or low physical dependency or high psychological dependence. So again, you still have a warning there. They do have potential for abuse, not as strong as the second class, but still quite strong as well. So things like this could be like your Tylenol with codeine, for instance. So just, again, a little bit stronger medication, but not quite as strong as that class 2. For class 4, have low potential for abuse in comparison to those in schedule or class 3. So an example there would be Xanax, for instance. And then in class 5, these have a low potential for abuse in comparison to those in class 4. These may consist primarily of preparations containing limited quantities of certain narcotics. So cough medications there sometimes, cough medications with codeine, for instance, that would be an example of a class 5. So anything that has a potential for abuse or dependence, you're going to have that controlled substance label on it as well.